Okay. So for young kids, if a child is stuttering, okay, and that we determine that from our evaluation that the child is definitely demonstrating SLDs and is demonstrating signs of stuttering, okay, that it's always best to recommend treatment. Okay, so there was ideas years ago that, you know, there was a trend to not bring attention to stuttering, you know, just let the child talk, let's just wait and watch and see what happens. Most children outgrow it, those kinds of attitudes. There wasn't a big push for young children to receive therapy who were demonstrating stuttering back in the 80s, early 90s. That was kind of the attitude. More of indirect approaches. But even the indirect approaches weren't great. It was like more of like, let's not talk about the elephant in the room. Let's not make Johnny feel any different or draw attention to the fact that he's stuttering, even though he knows he's stuttering. So it kind of, facilitated some of that, which isn't helping the child cope, having difficulties communicating. So the attitudes have changed, okay, in the fact that we find that children, again, who are demonstrating true stuttering can benefit from therapy, regardless if we think they're showing more green flags that they're going to outgrow it, okay, that here they've seen that overall treatment may help children recover, okay, that they really, yes, they've done some foundational research to say, yes, there is a trend for more girls to recover than boys, and, there's not strong family history that's, the chance that the child will recover. But they've also done studies to show that with successful treatment, that also helps children recover. So there's been an increase in use of direct treatment during the last decades of the 20th century, okay, for young kids, more so than before. Okay. All right, so with kids, we know that they can be exposed to teasing and bullying, okay, because they talk differently. Okay. So that is also important to be aware of, okay, for the parents of the child who stutters to be aware that that could happen, okay, and to have open communication about peers at school, about things that are happening at school, to have open communication with the classroom teacher, okay, to make, and then other school staff, okay, to monitor, to make sure that if that should happen, that everyone knows immediately, okay, that that is starting to happen, okay, and that the child knows they can come to their teacher and their parents, okay, to talk about those things if they start to happen. Okay? So that's being more open communication, rather than the child thinking they have to carry that on themselves and hide it, okay, and try and deal with it themselves, okay. Because a child's system is developing still, okay, their neurological system is still developing, they're prime candidates for successful outcomes of therapy. Okay? So we can intervene and teach them how to modify their speech, okay, and understand what happens when they're stuttering and how to modify those levels of tension. Okay? Because they're still developing, that can have a positive effect with their neurological development, okay, their overall development of their speech and language skills. So it's like anything. The earlier you start, the better, okay, than if you start later, okay. The cases, you know, that I've worked with where children present with more moderate to severe levels of stuttering are the cases where, you know, the child did not receive any early intervention. They did not even like early intervention, I mean like preschool intervention, okay? So, you know, the parents didn't decide to pursue therapy until the child was well into going into first grade, sometimes second grade. I've gotten comments from parents to say, well, it would just come and go. Sometimes it would be worse, and other times it would go away. And I think by the nature of stuttering, I think the parent was just hoping that when it was less and it wasn't there as much, that it was going away. They didn't have to deal with it. Then all of a sudden it would come back. So the cases that I had, the parents would make that comment, well, now it's back. So they realized that it probably isn't going away, but they spent years hoping it was going away, which was the detriment then to the child, obviously, you know, because the later you're starting in therapy, the harder it is for the child to manage and deal, you know, and they've, with even learning the tools and strategies, and now you've built up a really good bottom of that iceberg, too. Okay, so just like now we saw with the session we just watched with Sean. Okay, so so we'll see videos of 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, okay, and then one where the child does go into remission. We'll see whether they're 5, okay, that you know, there is no bottom of the iceberg with those kids. Okay, when you start out real young, okay, and obviously when they go into remission, you know, so so that's the key to remember, you know, if you're in the position of working with preschool kids, okay, and, you know, you are in a setting where you're doing evaluations, identifying children who are in need of speech and language services, okay, then these are things you need to know about, okay, to be able to recommend therapy and to advocate why preschoolers and young kids who are starting to demonstrate signs of stuttering need therapy sooner than later. This is hard to see on here. Wait. So, like I said earlier on in the 20th century, the approach was the indirect, okay? Like I said, you know, so you can kind of see that historically, you know, that was the attitude. Then in the later 90s, okay, as we turned now to 21st century, okay, specific therapy approaches and models started to be developed for kids in preschool. We talked about the demands capacities model. Okay, so who can describe to me what the demands capacities model means then as it applies to therapy?
I don't know every detail about it, but from what I remember, it's pretty much getting the parents involved in the program. So in a sense, like, you are training them to kind of like carry over these techniques at home.
What's the main component of the demands capacities model that they need?
Different complex natures that are developed from the internal and environmental demands. There's a child from reproducing limitations that could be any environmental.
Okay, so why would that matter for kids with stutters?
I guess the general idea is if you decrease those demands, it make it less of a high stress environmental or high stress for the kids, and it would increase their ability to do something that I can't.
Well, what are they talking about?
I mean, I don't want to say decrease their stuttering, but in a way,
Indirectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The whole idea of the demands capacities model. So think about the name, demand capacity. What are we talking about? We talked about the environmental demands and what's the capacity.
How does it start through learning and therapy to kind of like work through their stutter?
Yeah.
What the child is able to do.
So we're, right. Yeah. So, yeah, if you think about tools and strategies, you're kind of thinking about Van Riper, the kind of stuff we're going to throw last week. Okay? Demands capacities model for young kids, okay, for preschoolers, okay, because their neurological systems are still developing, okay, as it relates to speech and language. Their speech and language is still developing. Okay? So the idea is that if we lower the demand of the speaking situation, lowering the demand of the speaking situation, it could be also the demand of the speaking situation could be that there's 4 other people trying to talk at the same time. Okay? There's screaming and yelling going on in the background. Okay? That is a high environmental demand. Okay? It also could be, Johnny, tell me what happened at recess today and why you were fighting with Susie. That's also a high language demand, okay, for a 3-year-old to try to describe. Can you imagine, Madison, if JC was trying to describe something like that? Our little boy, our 3-year-old, that we evaluated this semester. Like, I can't, yeah.
In my pocket.
It's very, so cute. But I can't imagine what kinds of language he would try and use to describe that situation. And I'm sure there will be lots of stuttering going on because the levels of word finding are very high. Okay? The demand for syntax, morphology, putting words together in the right order, finding the right words to communicate. So demand for syntax, demand of semantics. Demand for also pragmatics and trying to look at mommy and daddy and trying to communicate these things in a successful way, okay, to maintain their attention. There's a lot of things going on there, high levels of all those domains of language and communication. So that's also an example of demand. You see, there's cognitive and language demand, there's environmental demand. All of that can then kind of sabotage a child's attempt at fluency. Does that make sense now? So the research has found that when you lower the demand, then the child's neurological system can maybe function better. Okay? The child's cognitive abilities can function better as far as even remembering what happened at recess. They can retrieve words a little bit better. Okay? So teaching the parents, okay, that concept, okay, of being able to lower the environmental and speaking demands to then see if that has an impact on the child's fluency. So that's the advanced capacity model. Okay. So you work with the parent, okay, each week to talk about speaking situations at home, and then seeing how they're able to kind of tweak and modify those situations to try and help the child communicate better. It won't necessarily, obviously, none of this stuff will take the stuttering away, you know. So, but the idea is that when you are able to manipulate those demands, okay, and the child does achieve more fluency, that's kind of just helping their neurological system develop in that kind of fluent pathway, so to speak. Right? Rather than kind of develop some of those, the idea was neurological patterns that facilitate stuttering. We know now, obviously, the article I brought in from the Stuttering Association, okay, that, you know, there is now, they've identified more of the genes that cause stuttering. There is differences in those nerves and astrocytes that help nerves function, you know, so whether the demands capacities model has an effect on that, you know, that's something I think future research kind of needs to look at, you know, as far as some of these things that we can do on a behavioral standpoint it doesn't really change neurology for very young kids to kind of tip them over into the recovery bucket versus the chronic bucket. But for now, the research was indicating that instituting the demands capacities model for kids in preschool does help tip the scales, okay, for kids who are stuttering to go into more of the recovery bucket. All right, lid cone program. There's an article in Blackboard on the lid cone program. I want you to read the article, be aware of the elements of the lid cone program. However, the more recent trends as far as our attitudes here in America about the lid cone program and the different lectures and workshops I've been going to on stuttering treatment for school-age kids, okay, is that the lid cone program kind of reinforces some of the attitudes that we don't necessarily agree with here in the U.S. And the fact that the research that they did in the U.S. with the lid cone program indicated that the feedback that the parents were giving to the child, okay, was then indirectly indicating that stuttering is bad. So the research kind of opened up some, I guess, can of worms in the U.S. on the lid cone program, the fact that the contingent responses that the parent is trained to give to the child with the lid cone program, and then asking the child to repeat phrases and sentences that they demonstrated bumpy speech to make it smooth. Specifically, again, our client that we saw here in the clinic, that I specifically told mom not to do, that she was doing at home. Because recent research indicates that when you do that, you're sending a signal to the kid that bumpy speech is not okay. You need to correct it and do it again and make it smooth. So it's not helping the child adjust emotionally, to the fact that they may end up being someone who has a chronic stuttering disorder. And here they were growing up having a mother ask them to correct this, because it's not an acceptable way of talking. There was, great claims, and the program was originated in Australia. So, and they had great claims of all this positive outcomes of research of kids who no longer stuttered when they did this program. The take on it with the US experts is that the fact that the child was, when they were practicing to make it smooth, they were naturally practicing lower levels of tension. They were naturally practicing fluency shaping techniques. Okay? So that's their take on it. And that by just doing that often at home, kind of helped them tip the scale. Okay? That it wasn't really, so the fact that the mom was having them, practice some ways of speaking with lower levels of tension, that was seen to be beneficial to the child. But, to make them immediately correct it, in moments of disfluency, they said that also can be emotionally damaging to the child, because then we're sending a signal that stuttering is bad, and it's something that needs to be corrected now. With the Live Home program, just so, when you read the article, you'll see that, these contingent responses that are given by the parent, it's not like all day long, that they're constantly asking the child to correct bumpy speech, but it is segments of the day where they do. They do mini sessions of therapy at home with the child. They give lots of praise for smooth speech. So again, it's sort of like that's where you're getting more positive feedback from your parent when your speech is smooth. So here in the U.S., they're like, oh, no, because we want to kind of protect the child's emotional development, as they're going through this period of stuttering. So it hasn't, with that said, it hasn't really taken off in the U.S. There's lots of discussion about it. It's a good thing when you go to a workshop and someone starts to talk about it, that it's a good, discussion for debate. But it really, you might hear of certain centers who specialize in delivering services for people who stutter, and you may hear of some therapists instituting some of it, but in my opinion, and what I'm seeing over years now of teaching this class and going to more workshops, is that the trend is kind of fizzling out with the Live Home program, based on those things I was just talking about. All right. So that's the Live Home program. So one size does not fit all. So our therapy approaches to someone who stutters, has to be what? Personalized, flexible. Yes. Constantly flexible. Because that person's going to change, as you're working with them, and everyone who stutters, we saw the video stuttering a part of me at the beginning of the semester, and you saw how much there's a variation of all different people there, and they all stutter a little bit different. Right? So that means they all need a little bit different types of therapy. And it's not just going in and saying, okay, we're going to work on easy onset today. Okay, this is how I do it. Okay? So one particular technique can work better for one person and not so much for another. Okay? Sometimes it might take a little bit trial and error of trying some different things with your clients and see what's going to work for them. That's okay. But it shouldn't be that, okay, well, I know how to teach a client to do cursive speaking easy onset, and that's what therapy should look like. Okay? Prime example in that with my client OP, traditionally it's, I think you may have heard even Glenn mention something like, well, I like to start out with fluency shaping or these kinds of techniques first, or, I think even Dr. Yaris, looking at the videos last week on some of the Van Riper approaches, I think he mentioned that he likes to start out with cancellation. Remember, he was talking about some things that he likes to do. That's all great, okay, but, when we started working with OP in the beginning, I did start out with some fluency shaping kinds of techniques with him. Okay? But, he was bright, he was smart, he could learn to do them. Okay? But in the moment of stuttering, okay, he had such a reaction to that moment, okay, that blocks could last three seconds, not sometimes. Yeah. With secondary behaviors. So, how do we address that? Okay, so easy onset and cursive speaking isn't going to cut it. You see where I'm going with this? So, we also need to do a lot of work with the bottom of the iceberg with my client. And I think I mentioned this before. We did try some, then I went into some stuttering modifications, specifically pull out. So that little boy with that 2-minute clip that we saw last week, with him doing a freeze and fix. Did you guys, saw that? You did not? No, okay. I'll share that this week. But you guys saw that last week when he was having blocks, but then he was doing pull-outs as he was talking. Do you remember that one, that video? Okay. So that was very similar to what I was teaching my client OP, okay? And it was working to a degree, but he didn't want to use it outside of therapy, okay? Parents were still commenting that stuttering was severe outside of therapy and that he was choosing not to really communicate well outside of therapy. So I was like, okay, let's completely change this around. And we completely changed the focus of therapy to desensitization. And that's all we did. We just threw out, we called it stop and restart for a while. Stop doing it. All we did was pseudo stuttering. Okay, then sometimes in pseudo stutter, we would just practice little stop and restart just so it was kind of in its mind. But, but that wasn't the focus of therapy anymore. And the focus was talking and communicating. And we had a complete turnaround. Okay, so that's the example where you have to address what's happening with your clients, okay, and make sure that your therapy is client-driven and client-focused. I had him fill out the OASIS. He said that he was extremely nervous and anxious to speak to strangers. Like, okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so each thing that we kind of hit on, okay, and we kind of got him over that hurdle, severe anxiety. And once he started doing it, then it was just like, oh, the light came down, from above, okay, and all of a sudden, oh, I can do stop and restart if I want to. I'm like, yes, you can. Okay, so, and then it was a completely different attitude, to the point then when Violetta saw him last year, he was doing book reports and doing like more, longer bits of public speaking, So, so again, that's the example of one size does not fit all. Okay? We've seen where Glenn, with his client Sophie, he was doing a combination of things. He was doing some techniques, but then he also was having some discussion about the realities of stuttering. He was incorporating pseudo-stuttering. So he's doing a whole mixed bag of stuff. I probably maybe would have spread it out across. Like, I think the fact that he was doing a video, I think he wanted to show like all of the stuff he does in therapy in like one session. But I think you could also kind of break it up too, in your sessions as well. So. All right, we talked about that. We talked about these ideas too. All right, so this is a good slide, number 9. And I think we tackled these things in our breakdown of the Sean and Michael session to better address these things. Okay, so yes, we still want to work on some techniques to change the form of stuttering. Okay, so I'm not saying that shouldn't be part of your therapy, but you also need to talk about the negative feelings and thoughts about stuttering, right? And that was our board over there. Okay, talk about here. We said avoidance. Okay, involving the parents in altering the child's environment, yes, but then just involving the parents in general. We said we'd have the parents start practicing the techniques also in therapy, so they better understand what Sean is trying to do. Okay. And then also just talk about ideas of having the child feel better about talking, right? So more desensitization and activities to address that. We talked about doing the oasis, okay? And kind of incorporating activities that come out with that. Okay? So this is a good slide to kind of helps you holistically look at the important parts of therapy. All right, so we just talked about that. So you'll see when we start watching some videos of kids at the preschool level, like I said, the terminology can be more kid-friendly. I do use the terms more bumpy and smooth speech, okay, with the little guys, because I think it's just easier for them to understand. You saw Glenn use it with Sophie, who was older, because that's just how he likes to use the terminology. So modeling the targets, okay? That's something Glenn did really well with Sophie. Remember, he was practicing the cursive speaking, they were back and forth. He'd do it, she'd do it, so he was doing it. You didn't see any of that. Michael wasn't modeling the cursive speaking at all, right?
Michael wasn't GPS.
He was just, he was giving good corrective feedback. Yeah. So that's what you want to do. You want to walk the walk with your client, okay? Rather than just telling them what they should be doing. Okay? Obviously, giving good feedback is important. You all know that just with anything in therapy, regardless of what you're doing. Okay? So giving positive feedback. Specifically though, when you're working with a child who stutters, I wouldn't give feedback that insinuates, that's great, I didn't hear any stuttering, or that's great, you said that whole sentence without any bumps. I wouldn't give that kind of feedback. Why wouldn't I give that kind of feedback?
Does that sound encouraging?
You want them to think they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
By saying no boundaries, no boundaries.
Means what?
That they're doing.
That means bumps are wrong, right?
Right.
Right.
Because you're trying to establish that it's just different.
Right. That, which, again, I gave information to our client, JC, who came in this semester. And one of the things I said to parents is that you want JC to think both bumpy and smooth speech are both. Right, great. Right. So if you give feedback and praise when a kid has bumpy speech, that means, smooth. That means, bumpy is bad. Okay, so I'd stay away from that. You can give feedback, I like that you were able to tell me about recess and I understood everything that you were telling me, regardless of what you see. I didn't mention stuttering, bumpy, smooth at all, okay? So you just have to be careful, with your feedback. I think specifically with that. Giving feedback about tension is okay. But like I said, I would avoid the bumpy, smooth, if it's bad or good. Okay, so here's some suggestions for modifying the environment with the demands capacities model. So that's on slide 12. We went through the different categories last week of fluency shaping and stuttering modification. Okay, so that applies to the philosophies of Van Riper. And I think I put it in the therapy for adults. I think specific slides on Van Riper, I think are in that folder in Blackboard. All right, so just to kind of sum up, I'll probably just stop here with the slides, and I just want to show you before we go, start one clip, a video of the preschool. So just realize, there still is, two different types of therapy when it comes to young kids still out there. You still might hear about recommendations of indirect approaches. Okay? It's really up to the clinician and the family to decide which should be the best approach. If you have a parent who really physically can't get to individual therapy sessions with you directly as a clinician, indirect therapy then might be the next best thing rather than nothing at all, okay? And that you work on a consultative basis, with the family, and maybe, depending on, what you're able to arrange, and, so direct therapy, often is, more of the golden ticket, but like I said, that may not work for everyone. Especially, also with families' finances, depending on, if you're in a private setting, and, if they are able to get services in school, then great, but, obviously here in the city, children who stutter don't receive services in schools. So, then it's up to the private practitioners. That's why we have a good amount of kids who come through our clinic here for treatment for stuttering, because they're not able to get it in school. All right, let me flip over to definition. Okay, so we'll watch Carrie is the therapist and Penelope is the child, right? There's 3 segments. And they're snapshots in time, kind of the therapy progression with Penelope. Okay, so you can kind of see where they started out, kind of midway, and kind of where they ended up. So we'll start out watching session 1 tonight. So same thing. Take some notes as you're watching, and then we'll talk about it next week, and then we'll also finish up the other videos. And I need to plug it in.
Let's start by getting some crayons out and talking about some things that we always talk about. Okay? Do you remember what one of the things we talk about every time? Okay. I wonder if you could tell me.
Can you hear it?
Could I give you a hint? Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the kinds of speech that are okay. What kind of speech is okay?
Smooth.
Smooth speech. What other type of speech is okay?
Bumpy.
They're both okay? Ah, they're both okay. That's right. And what are some of the things? So bumpy is okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bumpy, which might be like this. And then there's smooth, which might be like this. What do you think of that?
Good.
Good. So both of those are what?
Okay.
Okay. They're both okay. What can we do though when we get bumpy and things get tight? What can we do? I'll draw you a picture and see.
So what is she addressing there?
You remember? What can we do when things get tight?
Do a reset breath.
Do our reset breath, and let's try it with counting. I'll go first. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now you do it.
1,
What?
2, 3.
Right. What do we do first, though?
1, 2, 3.
Wow, that was so smooth. Can we do 4, 5, 6? Ready?
4, 5, 6.
That came out so smooth. Let's do 7, 8, 9. Ready?
7, 8, 9.
So, yeah, so cute, so cute. So it's okay to reinforce, oh, that's smooth. But my point before was like, oh, your speech is so great, it's so smooth. Do you see the difference? But she's still kind of reinforcing, giving feedback about, what she's doing, and that's okay.
Wow, was that smooth or bumpy?
Smooth.
That was really smooth. Good work. And then the other thing we talked about, you can use this paper too, when we get tight, Miss Carrie isn't great at drawing. What's that?
A turtle.
A turtle. And what's this one?
A snail.
A snail. Now, do we talk like a turtle?
No.
No. So we don't talk slow, do we? How do we talk?
Oh, we talk like our normal voice.
We talk like our normal voice, but maybe just a little, what? What was this?
Slower.
A little slower. Good work. So we're going to talk a little slower. And there's one more thing that we talked about. I want to write this and see if you remember. How many times do we say our words?
1.
One time. That's right. So if I say my words more than one time, you catch me. And am I allowed to catch you too? I'm not allowed to catch you? Not yet. But you can catch me. That's right. You can catch me doing more than one time. Right? So you're a big helper for me. You help me do that when I'm talking. So, do you want to do a coloring thing first? I wonder if you want to color first, or do you want to read your book first?
Color.
Color first? Okay. So one thing I thought we could do, I want to make you some shapes.
Okay.
I wonder if you...
I colored them in.
Yeah. And I'm going to make some shapes for me too. Now I wonder if you know the names of your shapes.
Triangle.
Okay.
Rectangle.
Rectangle. Nice work.
Square.
A square. Okay. What's this one?
Circle.
A circle. Okay. So there's some for you. Now hold on. I want to make it just like yours. So I'll make myself a triangle, a rectangle, a square, and a circle. Okay, so let's decide how we're both going to color the circle. Are we going to color it fast or slow?
Slow.
Oh, we're going to do it slow? I wonder why you want to do it slow.
Because sometimes I like slow. Also, sometimes I just make a tower slow. And I just make a puzzle slow.
I wonder what's good about slow.
Just because I kind of like slow.
Kind of like slow? I know that when I color slow, I can stay within the lines.
I can too.
Right?
Because look.
Perfect. Do you know what happens though when I go fast?
What?
Do you want to see? You don't want to see? I'll show you. If I go fast, I don't do as nicely between the lines, do I? So if I slow down just a little bit, then my coloring comes out within the lines. How about you?
Also after this color, I want a different color.
Okay. I wonder what color you do want.
Purple.
Of course, because purple is
My favorite color.
your favorite color. There you go. I'll take the black one. There we go.
I'm gonna make my circle different colors.
Can you say that nice and smooth?
I want my circle different colors.
Wow, that came out really smooth. You want your circle different colors? I'm going to make my square purple just like yours. That.
It stays in the line.
It stayed in the line? That must mean I went just fast enough to get it done, huh?
Good.
There we go. Oh, is that good? Thank you. Yours looks really nice too.
Can we take these home?
Totally. We'll put them in your cubby over at school. Sometimes though, I just really want to color fast. I just want to color really fast. Just like sometimes I want to talk really fast. But what should I do if I talk really fast? What happens? When I talk really fast, you help me. I slow down and I can take a what?
A deep breath.
A deep breath. Or we can call it this, remember?
A reset breath.
A reset breath. And what does that do with my speech?
You can start over again.
Can you say that starting over again? You can start over again. You try. Oh, so you took your breath. Good work. Can you say that again? You can start over again.
You can start over again.
Hey, that was awesome. I heard all smooth speech right there. So sometimes a reset breath helps me from getting really tight and fast. Then I can just take a reset breath and make it smooth again. How does that sound?
Good.
Good? Awesome. Well, I wonder if anything exciting is happening in your classroom right now. You can keep coloring.
Oh.
Is anything new and exciting happening in your classroom right now?
Yeah. They're doing centers
Right.
and doing lots of things in my classroom.
Okay. I wonder if you have any animals in your classroom.
We do.
You do?
So we have animals. Also we have some artwork in the atelier too.
Right. Some artwork in the atelier. I saw on the board yesterday that you guys have some eggs.
Also we're going to have a pet at school. Also we're going to have baby chicks for a pet at school.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Baby chicks at school?
Yeah, for a pet
For a pet?
at school.
Right. That sounds amazing.
Cool.
I saw a Daniel Tiger show that Daniel had a pet at his school.
Daniel Tiger had a pet at his school?
Also, it was a duckling.
Oh, it was a duckling.
Also, ours is some baby chicks. Also, there's 6.
There's 6 baby chicks? That is going to be fun. I wonder what color you want now. Have you found one?
Orange.
Orange? Orange is a good one. I feel like you might like pink too, maybe? and some blue. I had a good blue one just a minute ago. Oh, here it is. All right, so you have baby chicks at school. That's my favorite part of what your class does when you hatch baby chicks.
I think it's gonna hatch in 12 days.
Almost 21 days. Very close.
21 days.
Maybe it's 20 now.
Maybe. I marked off the first day now because I answered very good questions.
Wow. That's awesome. I wonder what questions you had to answer.
I said if we drop it, the chicks might die.
Oh, can you try that smooth?
The chicks might die.
Nice. Worm. The chicks, yeah. So we do not want to drop the eggs, do we?
Already asked it a really good question. Also, if we have a question, we just raise our hand.
Mm-hmm. You raise your hand and then you wait till they call on you? There's a blue one. That's fabulous.
It's a brown one.
I wasn't sure if you liked brown. I got brown out too. Just in case. You never know. Looking for a red one. Okay, so you know what? We have 5 minutes left. So I'm wondering if you want to look at your unicorn book. And you can take the pictures home. Or you can take it to school and you can finish it at school.
I want to finish them at school because there's so many pieces of paper. I mean, there's 3 pieces of paper.
Yeah, there are 3 pieces of paper. And then you also have these to take home too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think you could explain these to your mommy? Because I don't know if your mommy knows about all this stuff. And your daddy?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you could tell them about what this means?
No.
What's this one? What kind of speech is that?
Bumpy.
Right, and what kind of speech is this?
Wow.
And
Smooth.
smooth. Do you know what this says?
Okay.
It does! Good work! And then we have this picture at home too, I remember. But we made this picture of the
turtle and the snail and the slide and one.
I wonder why we put a 1 there.
Because we should say it one time.
Exactly. But what if we go too fast? What if we talk so much faster than a turtle and a snail? What if we go too fast? How can you help me when I talk too fast? If I go really, really fast. 1 time, so I say my words 1 time, and how else am I supposed to say them? What's that one mean?
Take it easy, Carrie.
That's good advice, no, okay. I could use that advice every day. Take it easy. Well, let's look at your unicorn book for a minute, just to finish up, and I'll let you take all these things with you, okay? You also probably have better crayons in your classroom. Okay, so I wonder what this book is about.
It's about finding unicorns.
Finding unicorns, awesome. So I wonder if they're lost.
Also, this is my favorite page because this unicorn is different colors.
Mm-hmm. I wonder why it's different colors.
Because it's flying through a rainbow.
Oh, because it's flying through a rainbow. Super.
All right, so think about things you like, maybe some things you might change to it all, but I think, like I said, this is a good example of therapy, so. And I'll see you next week, okay?
I'm listening, I'm just gonna stop this.